UI part when you're developing Android applications. So there are several layout objects, and some of the layout objects you can actually see are frame layout, linear layout, table layout, relative layout, and some other important view groups. So in the last class we looked at the frame layout and linear layouts. So basically the frame layout is if you want to have a blank space on your screen that you want to fill in with like an image or some single object, you could use the frame layout. The linear layout was intended when you want to have things arranged in a linear fashion, like this horizontal linear layout or this vertical linear layout. And as we've seen in the example, these linear layouts are again inside another linear layout. So this whole thing is a vertical linear layout, and inside the vertical linear layout you can see the first one is a horizontal linear layout, and the second one is a vertical linear layout. Okay? So these linear layouts can also be embedded within each other. Okay? So you would want to kind of set the width and heights as the user kind of want them to be displayed. So this was the example we talked about. So here you have this whole thing is going to be a linear layout, and it's going to be a vertical linear layout. So we say the orientation is vertical in this linear layout. Okay? And then we're going to get this first linear layout as this one. Okay? And in this linear layout, you can see it's a horizontal one. Okay? So this whole linear layout is going to be a horizontal linear layout in the first element of these two. Okay? The second part is this linear layout. So you can see that the orientation is vertical. So it goes like 1, 2, 3, 4, okay, this way. Okay? So in a total, there's one linear layout, and this is the second linear layout, and then this whole thing will be finished like this. Okay? So if you have a very simple user interface, using these layout components are kind of very nice to use. So they'll automatically set the positions for you. Because sometimes if you need to kind of do some drag and drop and design the UIs, then some manual things don't look very well. But if you have very simple UI, you just want to have them automatically positioned, using these layout objects would be much simpler. The next component we're going to look at is the table layout. So the table layout is basically you want to have a table in your user interface. Okay? So the table layout positions its children into rows and columns. Okay? So you have rows, and then some columns. The table layout containers do not display border lines for their rows, columns, or cells. Okay, so in HTML, if you create a table, you could kind of see the border lines, but they do not automatically display the border lines. The table will have as many columns as the row with the most cells. Okay, so what this means is when you kind of calculate the number of columns in a row, the row that has the most cells, like if the first row has 2 cells and the third row has 5 cells, then it will be matched according to the 5 cell. Okay, so the column setting is based on the row with the most cells. Okay. Inside a table, you can leave some cells empty, okay, just like in HTML. But there's one thing that you might want to be careful. But cells cannot span columns, okay, as they can in HTML. So in HTML, what you could probably see is in tables, you could see that there are some cells that go over multiple columns. Okay? They span over multiple columns. Okay? So probably you might have seen a table like this, and when you make a table, probably you can see it like this, but in HTML you can do something like this, right? You could kind of make some cells span over multiple columns. Okay? But in this table layout thing, you're not actually allowed to do spanning over multiple columns. So of course it's a kind of simple component, so the concept is pretty easy. Okay? So you cannot span columns as they can in HTML. Okay? So in HTML you can do things like this, but you can do something similar, but the cells are existing inside the table layout. Okay? So table layout에서는 그 셀들이 이렇게 퍼져 있는 것처럼 보이게 만들 수는 있지만 실제로 셀들은 남아 있어요. HTML에서는 셀들을 이렇게 합칠 수도 있지만. Okay, so here's a table layout. Now, when we create a table layout, you can see that this is the one that we want to create. And inside this table layout, you can see that there's two rows. Okay, one row and 2 row, second row. And in each row, you can see that there are 2 columns. Okay. First column, second column, first column, and the second column. Okay? So the way that you would kind of encode this table layout in the XML is first you create a table layout element like this, the finished table layout, and you have to encode each table row. Okay? So one table row, this table row matches this one. So table row begin and table row end. And inside this table row, we have 2 text views. Okay? So the first text view is going to be this one. And the second text view is going to be this one. Okay? So you encode each table row and you have 2 text views for the columns. Okay? This is the second table row. Okay? And in the first table row, you can see that there is the first text view and then the second text view shown. Okay? 그래서 테이블을 인코딩할 때도 이제 굉장히 뭐 엘레강스하게 만들면 좋겠지만 하나하나 다 코딩을 이렇게 로우별로 한다 이렇게 생각을 하시면 돼요. Okay? 그래서 로우를 만들고 그 다음에 그 안에 텍스트 이렇게 컬럼들을 만들어주는 거죠. 네. 혹시 뭐 이런 컨트롤들 사용한 사람 있어요? 졸업 프로젝트에서? 네. 안드로이드 앱 만들고 할 때. 좀 있을 것 같은데. 네. XML 사용한 사람. XML. 네. 아마 relative layout 같은 경우는 the relative layout is laying the objects in a relative position. So in a relative layout, it lets the child view specify their position relative to the parent view or to each other, specified by the ID. Okay, so when you want to position something, you probably can specify, I want to be on the left of something. I want to be on the right of something. Okay, top, bottom, okay? So you have a relative position when you want to specify your position. Okay? And you can specify by the ID. You can align two elements by right border. Okay? So you can align things, make one below another. So if you want to have them on top of each other, okay, or on the bottom, you can have it centered in the screen, centered left, okay, on the left side, or and so on. Okay? So basically, you can kind of position your things in various kind of ways. It's a very nice layout. It makes it kind of more neat. Okay? Your components can be aligned with the right border and positions. And when you change something, it automatically changes as well. 그래서 요거 이제 장점은 조금 얼라인먼트나 이런 것들이 자동적으로 돼서 좀 이쁘게 되죠. 그 다음에 뭔가 하나 바꿨을 때 다른 것도 주르륵 이렇게 다 상대적인 위치이기 때문에 따라서 이렇게 같이 바뀌게 되죠. 그죠? 그래서 그런 장점이 좀 있습니다. 그래서 다른 것들은 절대적인 위치나 이런 걸 고정을 하면 이제 뭐 하나 버튼 넣었다 그럼 다른 건 또 다시 쫙 다 밀려야 되니까 조금 그 디자인이 좀 불편해지는 그런 경우들이 좀 있죠. So elements are rendered in the order given. Okay? So based on the order that you give, they will be displayed. So if the first element is centered in the screen, other elements aligning themselves to that element will be aligned relative to screen center. Okay? So based on what element is first comes, then the other elements will be aligned based on that element position. Okay? So you have to pick the element positions correctly if you want to kind of align them very nicely. The first element will be like the most important position, and then you'll be doing the relative thing. If that position changes, then all the other things will change together. So, 첫 번째 그 요소를 어떻게 위치하느냐에 따라 다른 것들이 쭉 다 따라오게 되죠. 그래서 만일에 나중에 이거를 얼마씩 바꾸고 싶다 그러면 그 제일 처음 것만 살짝 바꿔주면 다른 것도 상대적으로 다 쭉 따라서 같이 바뀌니까 좀 편한 점이 있죠. So here's a relative layout that we want to try here. So, when you want to create a relative layout, you start with a relative layout tag and end relative layout. Okay, so in here, if you look at the components that were used, the first component is a text view. So it says Android text type here. Okay, so this is the text view that matches this XML element. And you can see that there's an edit text component. So in this edit text, it matches this one. Okay. So you can see that its edit text is here. And the button, this button is it's ID OK, and you can see that the text is OK. So that button is here. This is the first. You have the OK button, and then there's another button which you can see the text is cancel, so that button is here. So we have the text view here, the edit text here, and then the OK button here, and the cancel button here. Okay? So this looks pretty simple, but if you want to do the relative layout, the first thing is okay. So for the edit text, this one is positioned below the ID label. Okay, so this one has the ID label. Okay, and I want to be positioned under that one. So the edit text goes under the type here. Okay, so after the type here, you can see that this one is positioned right under, below the label. And then when we draw the OK button, how would you position the OK button? So the OK button is positioned below the ID entry. Okay, so under that you position the OK button. But what you want to also have is you want to align under the edit text. Okay, so you want to do the right alignment. So what happens here is you have a layout below ID entry. ID entry is this one. Okay, the edit text is the ID entry, and you also want to do layout align parent right. Okay, so you want to align right for your parent. The parent is going to be this ID entry. So you have it below and align on the right side. Okay, so that's how you would position the OK button. Now, how would you position the cancel button? Okay, so now it's relative to the OK button. So you would want to position it on the left of the OK button. So you can see that the cancel button is layout to left of ID OK. Okay, so it's positioned on the left of the OK button. And you want to also align the top. You want to align the top of these buttons so they are kind of nicely positioned together. So align, layout, align top, ID OK. So the ID OK is this, the OK button's ID. So cancel button is nicely aligned with the OK button on the left. Okay. So although it looks very simple, when you kind of go into the XML, you can see that it's carefully designed based on the relative positions. Okay. So that's how the relative layout kind of looks. Okay. Okay, so we don't actually have a lot of time to go into all the UI components. The best thing is, actually try them out. Okay? Just try them out and see how they work, and you can use them piece by piece. You don't have to know all of them, only the ones that you are going to actually use. Okay? So try just a couple of them, and you'll probably find out how they work. Okay. There are some important view groups. So the frame layout, the layout that acts as a view frame to display a single object. We've seen that, so if you want to display a picture, you can do that. There's a gallery view group. It's a horizontal scrolling display of images from a boundaries. I think you'll probably seen these kind of galleries. Okay, you have a horizontal scrolling display. It's the images that you can scroll through. And grid view it displays a scrolling grid of n columns and n rows. So that's what you mostly see in smartphone applications. You have grid views with n columns, n rows, and n columns. Okay, so there's the linear layout we've just talked about. So a layout that organizes its children into a single horizontal or vertical row and creates a scroll bar if the length of the window exceeds the length of the screen. Okay, so automatically creates a scroll bar if the screen is filled up. There's a list view that displays a scrolling single column list. Okay, so if you have a list of items, then you can scroll through with a list view. Okay. And the relative layout we just talked about enables you to specify the location of the child objects relative to each other. Okay, so you have a child A, then you want to have it left of child B, or blah blah blah, or align it against to the top of the parent. Those kind of things could be done with relative layout. Scroll view is a vertically scrolling column of elements. Okay, so you can scroll through some elements, and the spinner will also see these items graphically. Okay, I have some slides after these. It displays a single item at a time from a bound list. Okay, so like if you want to pick something, then you could have a single item at a time inside a one-row text box. So if you want to kind of choose some things and you only have one single choice, then you can use a spinner. It's rather like a one-row list box that can scroll either horizontally or vertically. So we'll see what a spinner kind of looks like. There's a surface view. It provides direct access to a dedicated drawing surface. Okay, so if you want to kind of do some drawing surfaces, it can hold child views layered on top of the surface, but it is intended for applications that need to draw pixels rather than using widgets. Okay, so if you have a drawing application, then you can use the surface view. The tab host, it's based on a tab kind of thing. So it provides a tab selection list that monitors clicks and enables the application to change the screen whenever a tab is clicked. Okay, so you can provide tabs in your application using the tab host. The table layout we've just looked at. So it's a tabular layout with an arbitrary number of rows and columns, and each cell holding the widget of your choice. So in our table layout, we've seen that text views were held inside the table. The rows resize to fit the largest column. So as I told you, there are some resizing, and but it's kind of based on the largest number of columns. The cell borders are not visible. Okay, so let's kind of look at these with some graphical images. You can actually go to this site and kind of look at a nice tutorial about these views. It has all these pictures. Actually, the material are taken from this tutorial, and you can see some nice explanations about each of those kind of views. Okay, so probably it might be helpful when you're doing your homework. Okay, so the linear layout we've seen in the previous class. So the table layout. Okay, so probably this doesn't look very much like a table, but internally it's actually implemented by a table. Okay, so you have, it looks like a menu, open, save as, but it's actually a two-column table. Okay, so this one column, and the second column has all the shortcuts. Okay, so as I told you, the borders are invisible. So although it's internally a table, you cannot really see the borders. Now the border for this one is actually shown. Okay, so you can control those. And this was an example of a relative layout. So we positioned the things relatively, the OK button, and then the cancel button for relative positions. The grid view, I guess all of you, use the camera function. So when you want to edit your pictures or send your pictures, then this one has a bunch of dogs in it. Okay, so It's a dog mania. Okay. And so you can use the grid view if you want to have some image kind of grids. Here's the tab layout. So if you want to do some, tab controls, here's artist tab, albums tab, and songs tab. So these are also provided by the XML layouts. Here's the list view. Okay, so I guess everybody uses the list view, the most simple control. Okay, you have all these list of items that you can select from. Also for the date, you have the date picker. Okay, so the calendar actually, those things are built in. So it's very nice to just kind of use the date picker and all your date picking is done. Okay? So that's one of the cool things if you use these kind of libraries. August 4th, 2008, you don't have to manage your own calendar or manage your own kind of dates. Another is the time picker. So 6:37 p.m. Okay, you can set the date. Then some form kind of stuff. Okay, so you can kind of do some edit text, checkbox, radio buttons, blah blah blah. Okay, some stars and blah blah blah. Okay? So there's all those kind of nice things that you can kind of use. So this is the spinner. So please select a planet. So you have these kind of choice buttons. So you click on it and you can select from the list of things, and you can select only one thing. Okay? So it's like the drop-down box. Autocomplete automatically completes some text for you. So if you have like CA, then you can see the drop-down box shows all the options available for CA, Cambodia, Cameroon, Canada, blah blah blah. Okay. Gallery control, you can kind of slide through the pictures with the gallery control. Okay. And I guess some of you might be using this for your projects, Google Map View. So one of the most kind of powerful things for smartphones is you can use the GPS. So there's a lot of smartphone applications. The difference is basically with previous feature phones, you couldn't create apps that do a lot of things with your location, but we're seeing more and more services based on the location. We call that a location-based service. Okay? So I guess Matjip also has a tight kind of coupling with location, so maybe some of you might be using the map or something. Okay? Also, there's a web view, so you can actually kind of use this web view to put your browser actually inside your application. Okay? So you don't have to recreate any kind of browser things, but that's automatically provided. 그래서 여러분들 그 어플리케이션에서도 이런 브라우저를 사용해야 할 경우 이런 컴포넌트가 자동적으로 웹 뷰를 제공이 되고 구글 맵도 쉽게 이렇게 갖다 집어넣을 수 있게 되죠. So okay. Now this is an example Android XML UI. Okay, so actually you can just follow this to try out a linear layout example. So this actually shows the whole example. Okay? So you can actually go there and you can just run the simple linear layout. So the steps that you have to follow are start a project name called Hello Linear Layout. And all of these XML go into the main.xml file. Okay, the res is the resource folder. Under that, you'll see the layout folder. And under that, there's going to be a main.xml file. Okay, so open this main.xml file and insert the code in the linear layout example shown in this web page. Okay? And then you would want to open a Java file, okay, to actually do some coding. Open the hello linear layout.java and see that it loads the resource layout main.xml layout in the onCreate method. Okay, so in the onCreate, you can see that there's super onCreate and there's a set content view thing. Okay? So this set content view will do the loading of the XML layout. So here you can see the R, that's for the resource r.layout.main. So this one basically will load the main.xml file, and you can see that the linear layout pops up. Okay? So run the application, and you're ready to go. Okay? So you can. Yeah. Any questions? Yeah. 어디요? surface는 그러니까 이제 픽셀 같은, 그러니까 뭔가 drawing surface 같은 게 있으면, 예를 들어 뭐 간단 그림 그리기 어플이라든가 이런 픽셀 바이 픽셀로 뭔가 그림을 그려야 되는 그런 앱을 만들 경우 이런 surface view 같은 걸 사용하면 좀 편하다는 거죠. 그래서 뭐 아마 그 졸업 프로젝트 아마 뭐 그림 그리기 앱을 만든 사람도 있는 것 같은데, 네. 그러니까 뭔가 그 픽셀 바이 픽셀 뷰로 이렇게 건드려야 하는 경우가 있으면 이런 서피스 뷰를 사용할 수가 있습니다. 그래서 뭐 어떤 drawing surface를 제공한다, 그림 그릴 수 있는 간단한 그림판이라든가 이런 것들, 또 뭐 사진 같은 거 이렇게 편집하는 것들도 있죠. 그래서 그런 경우 서피스 뷰를 사용할 수도 있고. 네. 그래서 튜토리얼 한번 클릭해 볼까요? 네. 리니어 레이아웃에 대한 example 있고 이쪽으로 하시면 되겠어요. edit text 버튼 뭐 해가지고. Okay. So let's see. Okay. So we'll wrap up the smartphone discussion and we'll go into some explanation of your third homework. Okay.